wanted to talk about some recent media coverage that I received in the Salt Lake Tribune, and I wanted to speak particularly about the author Sean P. Means, who did a story on me a couple of weeks back about the upcoming Twitter purge. This is before I was banned from Twitter. But we all knew what was happening. We all knew what was coming down because the Twitter had said they were redoing their terms of service, and December 18th they were going to start booting people, and of course they did. They started out with folks like Jared Taylor and American Renaissance, and so we kind of all knew that this was coming. They had de-verified people like Richard Spencer and Jared Taylor and myself prior to this redoing of their terms of service. So at any rate, I had written a blog post about that you can find on wifewithapurpose.com, and what had happened was this supposed journalist from the Salt Lake Tribune had decided simply to use the fact that I was assuming I was going to be part of this upcoming purge, which I ended up being, as just a reason to write a sensationalist lying article about me again. And I need to be clear about the Salt Lake Tribune. What they do is unethical because they bold-faced lie. And I want to give you an example of the way that this Mr. Means person lied. So he basically went to my blog post. It's called the, oh, you can't see that. It's called the upcoming Twitter purge. Let's see. This comes on the same day that the ADL, who's working with Twitter, has announced that neo-Nazis crawling through America have traded in their swastikas for an American flag, and that both symbols should be treated the same. Let that sink in a minute. My Twitter days are numbered, not because of anything I've actually said or anything I actually believe, but because people think I'm hiding some secret Nazi agenda that I'm sanitizing. Do you grasp the insanity of this? It doesn't matter what I say, how many times I tweet that I don't hate minorities, that I don't believe in Nazism, that the powers that be have labeled me a Nazi and claim they know my inner thoughts. And so he pulled a quote from that, you know, do you grasp the insanity of this? And then I go on to show examples in there that of literally years worth of tweets where I've talked about God gave us all the homeland, all people should be loved and valued, that true diversity preserves people and preserves their culture and their homeland, that I want African people to preserve their culture, African American people to preserve their culture, and I'm just trying to preserve mine, that is all it's about, that God sees the equal worth and value of all of our souls. I go on to say that one of my best friends is Black, that I have adopted siblings who are minorities, and how much I love them and I interact with them, and they are just as much a part of my family as the white members of my family. Both my husband and I have non-white family members through adoption or through marriage, and we absolutely love them and treat them no differently than our white family and think of them no differently than our white family. And I said that when I started my activism, I never imagined how much censorship I would get. I thought as long as I was upfront and honest about my beliefs that I would be fine. But they were shutting me down across multiple platforms, not because of what I said, but because of what they think I think. I've been banned from Patreon, Pinterest. I've been banned from Pinterest twice. Zoho, it's an email service. Facebook has banned me 3 times and recently threatened to ban me again, though they didn't follow through with that. I've never been allowed to monetize on my YouTube. My WordPress monetization was pulled after 1 day. I've been outright lied about in fake news across the country. Our enemies aren't rational or fair, and they don't play by our rules. What do I believe? I believe that all races have a right to exist and stay the majority in their homelands and the countries that they built, including white people. I believe that the family is the most important foundation of our society and that traditional values help all people thrive. I don't hate any group of people. I've never called for violence, discrimination, segregation, etc. Nothing. I will not raise my children to think there is something wrong or shameful about being white. I'm raising them with conservative Christian values, and I will not be silenced. And then I go on to talk about Generation Z and some of the people that I have met who are teenagers, 14, 15, 16, 17, and I gotta tell you, they are absolutely sick of this anti-traditionalism and anti-white narrative that we have right now going on, and they are pushing back hard. And like I said, and I said here that these kids are sick of this nonsense. They're not polite about it, and if you think my beliefs are controversial, then you're in for a rude awakening when these kids take over. And my warning cry is for the whole of our nation, not just Twitter, not just conservatives, not just whites, everyone. Look to some of the biggest enslavements and mass genocides in history. This is how it begins. Why can we not learn from that? Despite the bleak outlook, I'm on the horizon. Our God is a mighty God. Keep praying. And so literally, Mr. Means took a quote from the top of that article and from the bottom of that article and left out everything in the middle, where I prove that I have for years said that all races are of equal worth and value. We are all children of God. I don't hate anyone. I don't want segregation. And he actually said in his article that I called for racial separation. That's what he said in the article about me. He is a bold-faced liar and a terrible journalist and a bad person. Let me make this clear. I have 6 children. He is a bad person for lying about me in a public format like that, when I know he knows better. Now, Peyton Hawkins, I think her name was. Hold on, let me look it up again. Harkins, excuse me. Peyton Harkins wrote a follow-up article once I had been banned. And I'm going to go easy on her because basically she was just updating the information. She took this article that Mr. Means had written before, and she kind of reworded it a bit and then added the fact that I had been deleted from Twitter, and then talked about my last blog post was a Christmas story about a church mouse, which it had been at the time. And so I don't think that she necessarily was being intentionally malicious, because she was just paraphrasing what he had written, and I think that she was assuming that he had done his due diligence and was representing things fairly, which of course he absolutely was not. And I have the proof that he was not, because he took a quote, again, from the top of that article and the bottom of that article and left out everything in between, where I very clearly laid out what I believe, and then he lied and said that I call for racial separation. I just thought everybody should know what the Salt Lake Tribune journalists are all about. Thanks so much for watching.